I've been interested in child development, in fact, since I was a child. And the reason for that is that my mother was an educational psychologist, and she used to talk a lot about her work. And when I got older, I got going to her clinic and seeing the way she worked. And she worked quite therapeutically with troubled children, and I got really, really interested in that. And there were quite a lot of psychology books around the house, and I started reading them when I was quite young. I know that sounds rather precocious, but it wasn't, because I was just really, really interested in it. And for ages my ambition was in fact to be an educational psychologist. And so after I graduated in psychology, where I was quite interested in developmental but also in social psychology, I had an opportunity to go and work in a hospital on a sort of internship, and found that very interesting, working with quite disturbed children. I enjoyed doing that. So I decided to train for teaching in order to become an educational psychologist. But in fact, I got sidetracked along the way. I did teach for a while, and I really loved it. I loved the creative side of teaching English and getting children to write and tell stories and enact plays. I really, really loved that. And in fact, I got diverted into a post which initially started as a maternity leave post in education in what is now Roehampton University. And I found I really loved that. I loved working with adult students. They were youth workers and student teachers, and I just found that very, very fascinating. And I would have been quite content doing that for the rest of my life, until I got somehow, because of the book I wrote, which was based on my own teaching experience, which was about children's writing, that got me into the world of research. And then it just carried on from there. I was interested in children's creative processes, and then I got interested in children's cooperative group work, because I was involved in a research project looking at the effect of working cooperatively on children's capacity to deal with conflicts and express themselves and overcome gender difficulties. And eventually I was working on a project called Cooperation in the Multi-Ethnic Classroom, which was about trying to forge relationships and overcome prejudice in multi-ethnic contexts. As a result of that, I started looking at the opposite side, which was bullying and social exclusion, and some of those aspects that go on in children's relationships. And so I spent many years investigating bullying, and in that process became interested in peer support. Along the way, I had trained as a psychotherapist, I should add. And so I got very interested in the role of children in helping one another in a therapeutic way, not as therapists, of course, but actually helping, tapping into the altruism that a proportion of young people have quite naturally, but which some have to learn. And it just kind of went on from there, and that covered children from primary school on to right through to the end of secondary school. So that's, at the moment, I'm working on a couple of projects that are looking at cyberbullying in a European context. That's actually very interesting too. So in a nutshell, I suppose, I've been interested in child development for a very, very long time,